As you probably know, I run a 6-figure brand online. But what you might not have realized, at least until now, is that I have 5 kids who I homeschool. Now you might be wondering, how is that even possible? And the answer is, well, not like this. Sometimes my mom friends ask me how I have time to run an entire business when parenting can feel like such a full-time job all on its own. And I totally get where they're coming from. I feel like that sometimes too. Like, I could easily spend all of my time taking care of my kids, spending time with my kids, and so on. But here's something that I've noticed. Work tends to fill however much time you have available for it. You might have heard this called Parkinson's Law before, which basically says that a task expands to fill the time available for it. But even beyond a single task expanding to fill the time available for it, I've noticed that however much is on my plate, somehow I have time for it. In other words, a small number of responsibilities can fill up your schedule just as much as a larger number can. So if you have kids, right now you might feel like 95% of your time is filled up with taking care of them. But if you add a business into the mix, what ends up happening is you find yourself working just a little faster and slimming things down just a little bit, focusing on the things that really matter, and somehow it all ends up still fitting. This reminds me of a conversation I had with Lisa Bass, a farmhouse on Boone, a few months ago. We were talking about this exact thing, and she was telling me that her schedule had felt so full with running her household, homeschooling her kids, running her brand. And if you know Lisa Bass, you know that she also grows all of their family's food from scratch, which is pretty incredible. Well, then they got a dairy cow, and Lisa thought that there was just no way she could possibly squeeze caring for a dairy cow and milking and all of that into her schedule, but somehow it all still worked out. And that really just makes me think that we are capable of way more than we give ourselves credit for. So in short, the main thing that makes it possible for me to run a business and have 5 kids is just that, honestly, it isn't as hard as it looks. Beyond that though, there are a few different tactics that I use to be able to just balance my schedule a little better and get more done in less time. So that's what I want to be sharing with you in today's video. Number 1, essentialism. Essentialism has to do with paring things down to what really matters. And of course, this starts with knowing what your goals are, so you know what those things that really matter are. Take homeschooling, for example. My goal with homeschooling is not to replicate public school at home. If I was trying to do that, then I would need to set up a whole classroom. We'd need to spend 6+ hours a day working on our schoolwork, and we'd need to do a lot of worksheets. But instead, when it comes to homeschool, I know that my goal is to prepare my children well for their adult life. So I need to teach them those essential skills like reading, writing, and math. And beyond teaching them those skills, I want to teach them how to learn. And we can accomplish those goals in way less than 6 hours a day. In fact, because of my essentialism approach to homeschool, we're able to get our schoolwork done in just about 2 hours a day. Personally, my big picture goal for my life is to raise my kids well. And that includes a few different things. That means that I am spending time with them and building relationships with them. It means that I'm providing for them financially. It means that I'm educating them. And it means that I'm taking care of their health. To make sure I'm accomplishing those things, I break down my time like this. I spend about 2 hours a day homeschooling them, about 2 hours in the kitchen preparing healthy meals for them, and then about 4 hours a day working on my business to provide for them financially. And what you probably notice immediately is that that wasn't 24 hours. I leave a lot of buffer time so that we can spend time just building those relationships, doing our chores together, building good habits, exercising together, reading stories, and all those things that really enable me to have a family and to be the full-time mom that I want to be. By the way, I didn't ask them to stay here on my lap and quietly get hugs from me while I filmed this video. This is just what they want to do because they think it's so interesting that I'm talking to the camera like this. Number 2, the nap time empire. One of God's gifts to moms is that the younger a child is, the more sleep they need. In other words, younger kids may need a lot more help with everything, but they also need a lot more sleep than older kids. And that's good news for every entrepreneurial mom and dad, because while most kids need 10 or 14 hours per day of sleep, most of us adults only need about 8. And that leaves us with a free 2 to 4 hours every day that we can spend on whatever we choose. Now, of course, I'd be remiss not to mention that, of course, there are exceptions exceptions to this. There are plenty of adults who need more like 9 or 10 hours a night, and there are some kids who sleep surprisingly little. But these numbers have shown to be averages, and it means that most people can take advantage of these bonus hours that they get when their kids are sleeping, and they can work on their projects. And this has definitely been one of my, quote, secret weapons for building my business while still having plenty of time for my kids. When they're awake as much as possible, I try to prioritize them, but there's always a couple hours either early in the morning before they get up, or in the evening after they go to bed, or in the middle of the day when the younger ones are taking a nap, when I can sneak away and they don't even miss me. Now, I'm definitely not saying that you should be able to get all of your work done while your kids sleep. I definitely don't. But those couple extra child-free hours certainly help. Number 3, divide and conquer. One approach that really didn't work well for me was trying to work at home. In an effort to spend as much time with my kids as possible, I'd grab my laptop and sit down on the couch, try to get through my email inbox while they were playing or doing their school. But honestly, it just led to me feeling like I wasn't doing either thing well. I wasn't able to focus enough on my work to do it really well, and I was too distracted from my kids to be able to give them the attention that they really deserve. It also led to me just feeling like I was working all day long because my work would take so long since I was distracted, and that wasn't fun at all. So these days, I keep family and work quite separate, at least most of the time. And that means that when I'm working, I can really focus in on my work and make sure that I'm doing my best work. And when I'm not working, I can be fully present with my family. Now, back when I was first starting out, before my business was making much money at all, it was tough to find the space or the time to devote to it. Back then, my home office was really just a table set in the corner of my bedroom, and nap time was my prime work time. But here's the good news. If you can be faithful in the little things, faithful when you only have a little, then things will expand. So if you can be faithful when your business is tiny and put in the small bits of time and effort that you can, then your business will grow. And as it grows, you'll make more money with it, and you'll be able to afford a different, bigger office space. You'll be able to afford to get some childcare if you need that, so that you can spend more time on your business. But you just have to be faithful with what you have right now. Number 4, getting help. And that leads me right into my next point. We all know how powerful it can be to get some help. It can enable us to do more and have more free time. Especially as a mom, this is a vital part of my well-being and my success. I get a little bit of help with childcare and housework, and I get a whole lot of help in my business so that we can produce a lot more than I'd ever be able to do on my own. But I know firsthand that it can be tough to figure out how to kind of get this ball rolling. When your business isn't making much money, how can you afford to get the help that you need to be able to grow it? Well, first of all, I think it's really important that you avoid the mindset that you have to get help before you'll be able to make money. In fact, I think exactly the opposite is true. You have to figure out how to get your business making money before you bring on help. Because bringing on help is just going to enable you to do more of what you're already doing. And if what you're already doing is not making you any money, then you'll just do a whole lot more and still not make money. So first figure out how to get your business making money, and then think about how bringing some more people into the picture might enable you to do more of what's already working. And when you get to that point, hiring really doesn't have to be an expense. It doesn't have to be something that you can afford. Because if you hire strategically, then every dollar you spend on help is going to be an investment with a positive ROI. So hiring people is going to make you money, not cost you money. Number 5, don't take bank holidays. As business owners, it's easy to fall into cultural norms like working 40 hours a week just because everyone else is. But when you're the business owner, you get to make the rules. You get to decide how your business runs, what your business structure and strategies are, when you work, what your schedule looks like, and all of that. And so there's no reason that we should do what everyone else is doing just because they're doing it. And one place where I see a lot of entrepreneurs fall into this trap is with bank holidays. I'm talking about days like Columbus Day or Labor Day. People who work your typical 9 to 5, especially in a corporate or government setting, generally have these days off. But there's no reason that they're the days that you should take off. Personally, I would rather take off days that are a lot more meaningful to my family, like, for example, my kids' birthdays. Number 6, build passive income systems. If I had to trade my time for every dollar that I earn, then there would always be a trade-off between either more time spent with my kids or more money in the bank. But personally, I'm quite a believer in the idea of having your cake and eating it too. I think that there's almost always a third option, some way that you don't have to choose between the two options that are presented to you, but you can create a different way to go about things to get the result that you really want. Now, a lot of what I've addressed in the previous 5 points or tactics has been about scheduling, when to work, how to have time to work, and things like that. And that explains how I'm able to run a business, but it doesn't really explain how I'm able to run a $600,000 a year business. Well, the answer to that comes down to one main thing, and that's 100K funnels. These are systems that automatically sell my products so that my business keeps making money whether I'm in the office or not. And for me, these are vital systems because honestly, I don't want to have to show up in the office every single week. Sure, there are a lot of weeks when I work 20, even sometimes 25 hours, but then there are other weeks when I want to take a vacation or maybe I'm sick and I want to be able to have the freedom to not have to come into the office. But I don't want to miss out on the income. I want my income to be consistent. And that's exactly what the 100K funnels make possible. Now, even though these funnels allow you to make money while you're not working, I still wouldn't necessarily call them passive income because they do take effort to create. In fact, most of the time people spend 3 to 6 months building their first 100K funnel. But once you build one of these funnels, they do make your income a lot more consistent and they make it a lot easier for you to scale a product up to $100,000 or even more. Since this is one of the strategies that's had the very biggest impact on my business's revenue, I wanted to figure out a way that I could provide a more in-depth training for you on the 100K method and teach you how it works and how you can implement it into your business. So what I did was I created a 10-episode podcast. It's like a podcast mini-series. It's called the 100K method, and it's just 10 episodes long, and it breaks the 100K method down from start to finish. A lot of the time when I start listening to a new podcast, I don't really know where to start. Like, should I start with the most recent episode or the first episode or somewhere in the middle? And this podcast doesn't have that problem because you'll just start with episode 1, you can listen all the way through, and I'm sure it's going to teach you a whole lot about how to make your business a lot more profitable. So if you're interested in learning more about the 100K method, then click the link in the description below to find that podcast, or you can go to gillianperkins.com/the100K method and you'll find it there as well. Now, if you don't necessarily have time or you're not ready for the commitment of listening to the whole 10-episode podcast, then here's what you can do. Watch this video right here for the too long, didn't read sort of version of the 100K method. It's kind of the crash course. It'll teach you the ropes and help you figure out whether or not maybe this is the right system for your business or not.